Hey friends, this is T again with another reaction video. And today we're going to be doing a reaction on why Furiosa flopped. Hollywood Girl Boss Too Close to the Sun by NERDROTIC. Okay, he just put this video out, so I just want to go ahead and do a reaction to it because I love his reviews. Just love them. Just do. If you're not subscribed to this guy, definitely do it, man. You will be entertained every time. Okay, now I was going to see Furiosa this weekend, but something stopped me, and in a way I'm kind of glad I didn't. I'll just watch it on streaming when it comes, and from what I heard, it's not bad, but it's still not as good as something that you actually want to go through the trouble and go see. Now if you're a movie reviewer, you're gonna have to go see it. That's the way it is, because if you're gonna give your opinion about it, you have to at least seen the movie. Okay, and I've heard there's situations where I don't know, it's this popular what's his name, he does movie reviews, and when Madam Web came out, he refused to do the review on it, and I think he lost a lot of credibility on that, and that wasn't too smart. I mean, you know, you can't get confused. It's your job to do movie reviews, to be a critic, right? That's your job. I mean, I used to watch a lot of critics in the past. They had no problem with talking about it, right? But for some reason, this guy who's been doing movie reviews for the longest, I mean, probably as long as I've been on YouTube or watching YouTube, I've seen this guy. And, you know, I didn't agree with everything he said, but at least I thought, you know, that he was just being completely honest about what he was saying. But now it's in question because he refused to review some of these movies, and from what I heard, he's trying to do movies himself, so that's interesting. And the same with Grace Randolph too. People are wondering if she, you know, certain criticisms that she do for certain movies and not others has anything to do with the fact that she might be able to have access to a lot of interviews and, you know, premieres and things of that sort, so they try to stay on these people's good side. I can't completely blame them if all this is true or not, but I'm just saying that, you know, Hollywood is kind of making those conditions now to the point where if you don't be honest so people can trust you, then we're not going to allow you in, and that's a terrible thing to do. And you wondering why Hollywood is losing so much money right now. Instead of just letting people do what they want and do their job honestly and make great movies, no, instead they just want to, you know, kind of like put people in conditions and situations where they can't even give honest criticism, to the point where this guy wouldn't even, you know, do the review on it. Everybody know Madam Web was terrible. Everybody. I haven't even watched it yet, but from what I saw from the trailer, I just had a feeling. Okay, but the fact you refuse to do a review on it, interesting. Okay, but we'll get more into it because right now he's talking about Furiosa, and that's what I like about him. He's straight up honest. I mean, you know, he understand he probably never gonna get no real real interviews with a lot of these stars or be able to go to premieres. He probably already know and understand that, but he just rather be honest and honest with his fans, to let them know that what he's saying isn't based on how he feels, but what he think as a moviegoer, somebody that loves movies. So I like that, you know. I don't need nobody lying to me. When I know something smells, man, you don't have to try to pretend like it's something that is not. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this reaction. But before we do, please like, subscribe, and share this video, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you know whenever we come out with new videos. Okay, all right, let's get with it.
Over 1 million practitioners of common sense and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. Listen, do you smell something? That ominous odor that's coming from Hollywood is a mixture of fear and what they just left in their pants. Why? Well, let's not bury the lead, because this may come as shocking news to all the analysts who work in Hollywood and the corporate access media, but it won't be shocking at all to the general audience. Furiosa is a massive flop, and not just your average garden variety flop that we're used to from Hollywood these days. It's historic, the worst Memorial Day opening in over 40 years.
You know, I forgot it was Memorial Day this weekend. I forgot. And he's right. Usually movies do great. That's why people, or at least that's why Hollywood would put movies on Memorial Day, because they it almost like guaranteed that they're gonna get not only a holiday weekend, but also you get an extra day off, so you get to be able to enjoy the movie, right? But this is terrible, man. This is really really bad. The fact of the matter is that it did so terrible, and it looks so good too in the trailers as well. I mean, there's a lot of people complaining that you got Mad Max, and for some reason it seems like they're making these movies that had nothing to do with Mad Max. I understand that in a way because they want to continue it, but it's just not the same without Mel Gibson's Mad Max in it. And I doubt if they can get anybody. I mean, they did with Tom Hardy to replace it, but it almost seemed like it was more about Furiosa than his movie. And I heard both of them didn't even get along on that movie set. But either way, man, you just can't look at these movies the same because Mel Gibson did such an amazing job with that movie that I just can't see it. I mean, I think they was hoping old heads like me didn't matter, because it's hard for me to look at these movies any other way. But they was hoping to get like younger people, people that didn't know Mel Gibson back in the heyday and anything like that, or Mad Max. So they can just copy off that and just do a new, exciting thing. But these kids aren't even interested in this stuff, man, because nobody went to see it. And please don't tell me nobody went to the mall this weekend, right? I'm sure a lot of people went to the mall. They just didn't go to see this movie.
And Furiosa could even lose that status if it doesn't maintain its slight lead over Garfield. Which at time of recording is still up in the air, but that doesn't change the fact that after The Fall Guy bombed and the
I was kind of surprised that The Fall Guy bombed, though. I was really surprised by that. I didn't go see it, though, but I was kind of surprised by it.
Performance of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Hollywood
I did enjoy the Planet of the Apes. Yes, it could have been better, but I still enjoyed it.
Is reeling. Just 2 days before the release of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga without Mad Max, Deadline reported it was trucking to an 80 to 85 million worldwide start. Turns out that estimate was just a bit off to the tune of between 10 or 15 million dollars the wrong way, give or take a couple of million. Combine that with a Memorial Day weekend that's performing 40% lower than it was this time last year, in a summer that's performing over 20% lower than it was at this time last year. And honestly, this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone after the year of the flopbuster, the streaming collapse, and the worst time strike in history.
Yeah, a lot of people lost a lot of confidence in Hollywood right now. And you can blame all kinds of stuff. You can say that in 2020, during that sickness that was going on, right? And then you got all these strikes, and then they, all of a sudden, after the sickness, all of a sudden they want to put women in the lead roles, girl bosses, and all this other stuff, man. So, everybody lost confidence. Even the women don't even want to go see it if they ever wanted to. Now, I see a lot of these feminists telling women, yeah, you want girl bosses in your movie. Yes, you want to see girl bosses in everything you go to, right? And these women like, yeah, sure, we do want to see that. But deep down inside, they even never wanted to see it because they don't support it. They seem like they don't want to support anything to have anything to do with women. Like the WNBA, man, no women go to that. And now that they are showing up for it because of Caitlin Clark, they putting Caitlin Clark down for that. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. I mean, I heard an old saying, don't matter how old you are, you'll never understand women. And I think that is so true. I'm getting older, and I have yet haven't been surprised by women and the things they want and don't want. It's always changing, man. It's like the weather. But nobody wanted to see the stuff. The confidence with Hollywood now. And like I say, I heard some people, the harshest critics said it was a decent movie. But because people lost so much interest, nobody wanted to go see it. They lost the old heads because they told the old heads, your opinions don't matter. You sexist and racist and everything else. Your opinion don't matter. So, forget you, man. We just going to do it for these kids who aren't interested in this stuff, man. They'd rather be on TikTok. They'd rather be traveling around the world. They'd rather be camping, doing all the other stuff they're doing these days and filming it and doing selfies. This is what they're mostly interested in these days, man. Movies, not so much. All the older people was watching movies all the time. Y'all got us hooked on movies, right? These kids, they rather be doing something else. They rather be on a march or something, or at a rally or something, more than they actually want to go to the movie theater. And that's it. Now that you got streaming, it just made it even more difficult, man.
Leaving the theaters with essentially holdovers, minus a couple of exceptions, from the worst year of writing in Hollywood's history. Know what's really got Hollywood and the corporate media analyst panties in a bunch is Furiosa.
I was just thinking about Madam Web, man. I wonder how far into the movie when they was making it did they realize it was going to be a flop.
Furiosa is a well-received film from critics and the audience. And after watching Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, I would have to agree with some of that. It wasn't a bad film.
You see that? Even though he criticized the movies he believed that are terrible, he'll at least give them the benefit of the doubt. If he thought it was decent, he'll say it, man. That's why I don't understand the other guy. And like I said, I don't know his name. I forgot his name. I used to watch him a lot at the beginning, but I just stopped for some reason. And now I understand why. I mean, come on, you can't just be honest. Like I say, when you aren't honest, when you decide to get into something like this, people believe you lost your integrity. But then the question is, does Hollywood have any integrity? If somebody want to join Hollywood, maybe it just go hand in hand. Having integrity doesn't mean anything, as long as you can get the mighty dollar and deceive people and making them believe that this is going to be a good movie. Maybe I should give him some credit because, I mean, I don't know if I can even give him credit, man. Because I was about to say was that with the Madam Web situation, that he just didn't want to say anything. So that was probably better than him just straight up lying, okay? But then it's almost like it was a straight lie because he knew he couldn't back out of that. He knew everybody thought it was terrible. Even the stars in the movie thought it was terrible, right? And so he couldn't just sit there and just lie about it. You know what I mean? So he'd rather just say nothing. I mean, it's terrible. But I'm just making the case that NERDROTIC is at least going to get, if he thinks it's a good movie, he's going to say it's a good movie. It's not the fact he hate Disney or he hate Hollywood or anything like that. Matter of fact, people like him want them to do well. You know what I mean? People like me want them to do well. We don't want them to put out crap. We don't want Hollywood to go down burning. We just want them to make good movies and be honest about it.
Do you have it in you to make it epic?
Furiosa, a Mad Max saga without Mad Max, is a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, guest starring Mad Max played by Tom Hardy, following the film's main character Furiosa played by Charlize Theron, who is now played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who doesn't show up until 40 minutes into the film. The first third is
That's weird. I don't know how long the movie is. It took her that long to show up.
Following young Furiosa after she is snatched from the green place of many mothers, which includes an on-the-nose opening scene of young Furiosa grabbing an apple. But instead,
well, that's why I didn't care about it. The only reason why I went to go see the last Mad Max was because Tom Hardy was in it. But I didn't realize they were going to turn it into a woman film. You know what I mean? I would have enjoyed it more. And I'm like, and it's beautiful. It's a beautifully made movie. Just like this one looks like it's a beautifully made movie. But like I said, they're trying to etch a sketch men out of it for some reason. They're just trying to get rid of men and put a bunch of women in this stuff, man. They're just not working.
Instead of being expelled from Eden, she was taken, as young Furiosa ends up in the hands of the man who murdered her mother, the warlord Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. Ultimately, young Furiosa goes from one tormentor to another when she is traded to Immortan Joe. And the last 2/3 of this 2.5-hour film, we follow Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa on a mission of vengeance and trying to find her way home as she navigates the wasteland without surprisingly getting assaulted.
You know, there's a very few movies for men these days. You would think something like this would be for men. I mean, they could have went so many places with this movie and made it like a real guy's movie, right? Because men love this kind of stuff, man. But also they got to put in that feminism stuff, man. That stuff nobody want to see. Make it about that. You know, all the men in this movie most likely was going to be like evil and wrong and, toxic and everything else, while the women are just trying to survive and stuff, right? Like, none of them were evil too, right? I mean, who knows, okay? But it's always putting out some type of message. And I just read something too. Somebody that did The Little Mermaid, the director, he said that Disney were they wanted to tell a message more than they wanted to write a story. Ain't that bad? They own directors saying this, right? And I'm wondering why he just didn't quit in the middle of it, or he just didn't take the job, man. He didn't know this. I'm sure the part of being a director, you had to read the script. So you didn't realize what was going on until what, the end? Until it flopped? Then they want to say something about it? It's crazy, man. It's just crazy stuff. But it's something about this movie that I was like, yeah, I want to go see it because I love the Mad Max movie, but it's not going to be about Mad Max. It's not really going to be about, you know, killing and all this kind of stuff and desperation and everything else, man. And you know, another thing they always take away from these movies too, romance. And believe it or not, men like to see romance too. We like to see a lot of explosion, car crash, and all that kind of stuff. But slip in a little romance here. It don't have to be overly done. It can just be, you know, he gets the girl kind of a thing, right? We don't mind seeing that at all too. But these days, it's like, nah, you can't have no romance in these movies. None. And that's irritating women. So that's part of the reason why it probably felt so much. Because the women didn't want to go see it. Because they like, you know, I want to go see a bunch of cars, chasing cars and stuff, and no romance in it. And then they're probably like, the boyfriend was like, would you like to go see that movie? No, I want to see it. Ain't gonna be no romance in it. Like women wanted to see a bunch of car chases and stuff like that. They want something more. When they went to go see Mad Max in the original one with Mel Gibson, his wife and children were ran over and killed. If you remember the movie. And he was mad and he became angry because of that reason. And plus, they found Mel Gibson attractive. He was a new guy at the time on the first movie, and they found him attractive. So it was understandable why they wanted to go see that movie. But now they trying not to even have romance in these movies or any real motivation other than the fact they just kidnapped her and stuff. And to me, that's not enough. It's just not enough. It doesn't give me enough motivation for her to all of a sudden try to take out this dude who got a bunch of criminals or monsters and stuff like that, right? I mean, I don't know, it just doesn't fit for me, and that's probably why I didn't go see it. Like I said, I was thinking about going to see it first, and I was like, yeah, but when it came down to it, I was like, nah, I'll just wait to stream it.
Protect the green place.
It's time to take control for yours!
No, the other kind of assaulted. All while the most compelling part of the Mad Max saga without Mad Max was going on. The battle for dominance
Notice he keeps saying it right, without Mad Max.
between Immortan Joe and Dr. Dementis. And yes, there is a lot of good in Furiosa. Chris Hemsworth steals the show, bad fake nose aside. His two villain monologues are brilliant and a more concise form of characterization than the 2 films it took to get to know Furiosa. And here's a strange one. The world building, which I don't think you need in a Mad Max movie, was pretty good. And considering this wasn't a Mad Max movie, it was fine. And again, watching the difference in warlords between the cold and calculating Immortan Joe versus the chaos agent Dementis was fun. There just wasn't enough of it. As everyone has said, the action is top notch. George Miller hasn't lost a thing when it comes to directing. The gear porn was brilliant. The choppers, the motorcycles, the...
See, that is something I would look forward to seeing. And that's what I wanted to see on the big screen. But I couldn't get past that. I had a feeling they was going to make it a girl boss situation, man. The motivation is... Look, man, I don't have a problem with a movie being led by a woman. I just want to make it clear, okay? But it got to fit the narrative of the motivation of why the movie was made. And this has nothing to do with girl bosses. Not to me. It has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. In the other movie with Theron in it and Tom Hardy, that wasn't good motivation right there. I mean, like I said, it could have been a better movie but they made it about a girl boss again in that movie. So I don't understand why they said to themselves, hey, let's make another movie and let's make her the star this time. Even though she was the star the last time. Because she got better lines and better stuff than Tom Hardy did. That's probably the reason why they didn't get along. But it was signs right there when you look back at that. Because it never made sense why they did that to me. But now, looking back, now I understand why they did it. And they felt like, dog, man, let's make a movie just about her. But the only thing you can come up with if they kidnap her. Now, What made Mel Gibson's situation so devastating? I mentioned this again because his wife and children were killed. I can see why he was mad. That's why they called him Mad Max in the first place. Because he went mad. You know what I'm saying? That was the point. But this, being kidnapped stuff, don't get me wrong, it's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, it's a very bad thing. But I'm just saying, though, for the motivation for a movie, it just doesn't make any sense. Especially, like he mentioned, if she didn't get assaulted, okay? That wouldn't even make sense. I mean, it just doesn't match. That's all I'm saying.
Rigs, the cars, the ultralights. I will not question the directing prowess of George Miller. You will not see a better action film this year. I will question his choice for protagonist. I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying the character of Furiosa, be it played by Charlize Theron or Anya Taylor-Joy, is going to go down in the annals of iconic pop culture character history. I think she'll be a decent footnote, and they might even mention something aside from taking screen time away from Mad Max and
that's what's interesting about these movies when they start to introduce these girl bosses. They risking a lot of money to do this, even though they haven't proven to be successful. You would think, okay, we want to give women more positions and being the lead and all the other things, right? You think they would start with smaller projects, and, just test it out to see how it works, or to make corrections if needed or whatever, right? No, they're going straight to the big movies and doing this stuff, man. Women don't like to wait. They don't want to go through the trials and tribulations of doing smaller movies to build up to the point. Less risky movies. Even back in the day when they did black exploitation movies, right? They didn't spend millions upon millions of dollars on those movies. They went as cheap as possible. Because black people pretty much had to prove themselves so they can be stars. And some were and some weren't. But you don't start out that way. You don't start off doing a Mad Max movie. Look, this girl is a fine actress, man, but she just, to me, can't carry a movie like Tom Hardy or Mel Gibson or anybody like that. She better off with her smaller roles than these big stuff. But they risking all these movies to prove us wrong, basically. It's crazy. And they losing big time money over this.
Fury Road. Aaliyah Brown and Anya Taylor-Joy did a commendable job playing what is an average character. And this is where we get to why Furiosa flopped. In this case, the answer is simpler than Hollywood and those who analyze it think. I know you know the answer already, but they're having a hard time with it. Remember, the Access Media was feeling so good about this movie, it prompted IGN to write this. Furiosa, why the Mad Max movies don't need Mad Max anymore. To be fair, it's been a rough month preceded by a rough year.
See, you can tell they're doing it mess on purpose when they making statements like that. We don't need no man in this movie. Even though it's like men all over this movie. Why didn't they just make a movie about with a bunch of girls? They could have did that, but it would have even been worse. They always act like they don't need no man, but yet there's men all over these movies, right? If they're not in front of the screen, they're behind the screen. If they carrying something, they moving something, they building something, they doing something. Men are all over the place in these movies, but they don't need no man though. Crazy, man.
Year preceded by a rough half-decade for anyone who works in or around Hollywood. Again, The Fall Guy, which was well received by both critics and the audience, flopped. The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was both well received by critics and the audience, underperformed, which upset a writer from the Jimmy Fallon show enough to say this: I think it's time to accept that a large part of the movie-going public sucks shit. I think I can speak for most of the audience by saying
Damn. Oh man, they just can't accept they created all of this, man. It just if you don't look at things in our way, then you suck S. What kind of mind is that? I mean, I'm not too surprised though, after seeing all the things we see these days. I'm not too surprised though. But you just want to like think like y'all know y'all screwing things up. And yet y'all can't accept that. It's really, people are so much into their ideology, man. It's insane. It's insane. It's to the point where they can't even see the other side of anything. I mean, you would consider me a conservative because I am Christian. So I do see both sides of things. Or I try to as much as I can. But they don't want to see nothing. They don't want to budge at all. They don't make the crappiest movie and still expect you to go see it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Jimmy Fallon, that's failing. And they mad about that. It ain't funny. You sitting around talking about Trump all the time. Nobody want to see that. I don't care what side you're on. Nobody want to see that constantly. I mean, it's just awful, man. I mean, during this sickness that we was going through, man, that was the worst time. Not only when they were trying to restrict your movements, but also with the stuff they was coming out with after that, man. It was awful, awful.
Feeling is mutual, and keep in mind that was a WGA writer who recently went on strike for more money. Enjoy trade school. And that statement is one of the biggest reasons nobody's watching Jimmy Fallon anymore and nobody's going to the movie theater. But Furiosa is a different beast because it is a good movie that's going to flop historically. That's already led to the typical Hollywood navel-gazing that really needs to be a come to Jesus. By all means have that. And the entire industry, along with the access media, is already starting to gather the excuses. Anything from bad timing, the recent solar eclipse, COVID, good weather, misogynist bigots. Aside from the honorable mention of Furiosa becoming victim of something Fury Road helped create, it wasn't patient zero, but it certainly helped usher in the bait and switch the male protagonist for a female protagonist girl boss era of Hollywood. An era that has destroyed the female protagonist more than any real misogynist could dream of. To borrow a phrase from the criminally undersubbed It's a Gundam, Hollywood girl boss too close to the sun. And maybe it hurt a film that didn't have a girl boss, Furiosa, but that's not why it failed. So why did Furiosa flop? It's an enigma wrapped in a mystery inside a conundrum. Well, it turns...
Yeah, before he says it, people go to movies for different reasons. Either they go for the actors, they go for the subject matter, they go for the story, they go for the way it looks, combination of these things or whatever. People got different reasons to go to movies, right? When I went to go see Mad Max, it was because I like the, that kind of stuff. I like the car crashes, I like the chases, and I like the comedy parts about it. And then throw in some beautiful women, man. That always works for me, okay? But the stuff that they're coming out now, it seems like they throw egg in the face of everybody. We don't care what you like, we changing it. If you like beautiful women in your movies, we taking that away. If you like lead men in your movie, we taking that away. If you like killing and decent fight scenes and all this other stuff, we're gonna dumb it down, because most of these women in these movies can't do it. So we're gonna dumb it down and then make it a little bit more feminine. Then we're just gonna get rid of the lead man altogether and the romance and everything else. I mean, people go to movies because they want to, you got to include all these things, if not most of it, for people to enjoy it. But it seems like they're trying to take all this stuff away. It's like they're trying to make it bland as much as possible. Like the X-Men. I enjoyed the X-Men 97. I do. You know what I mean? But it seems like they're trying to make the women less sexy as possible, like a lot of these movies and video games. Like screw these men's money. Even though we're losing tons and tons and tons of money. And I don't care how many times you call them sexist, misogynist, or whatever. You still need their money, regardless. Somebody didn't teach these people economics. You still need their money. I don't care how you feel about them. But you're going to do everything you can to make the movie experience dull as hell.
Turns out Mad Max does need to be in a Mad Max film, and he needs to be played by Mel Gibson. Hollywood simply isn't giving people what they want, and when they do, it's successful. You put Tobey Maguire in a Spider-Man movie and it makes $2 billion.
Yeah.
How'd that get in there?
Deadpool and Wolverine isn't out for 2 months, and it's already made $10 million. You mean to tell me if you put two iconic actors in their iconic roles in proper costumes and put them in a movie together, people want to see it? Someone should have thought of that sooner. Nah, it's a way better idea to recast a side character that no one cared about from an underperforming film and put her in her own movie with a bigger budget. What could go wrong? Turns out everything. As much as I liked Furiosa, the Mad Max saga, it would have been better if Mad Max was in the Mad Max saga, played by Mel Gibson.
Yeah, I miss actors like this, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I miss that stuff, man. I do. They doing everything they can to get away from all of it, and nobody recognizes it, nobody cares. And these young kids don't care about movies in general. You know, if they want to see something, they'll watch it on their phones or whatever, right? They don't care. You know, and the people that do go to these movies, they crap all over. Furiosa should have been more of a Mad Max type movie because men are more interested in this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? The women would have came with their boyfriends to go see it, especially if you threw a little romance in there or a good-looking guy that women wanted to see. But they really, 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 I believe in order for these people that took over Hollywood to keep their jobs, they got to. This is the only stuff they can write. This is the only things they can do. Okay, so they got to keep it going because losing money don't seem to be enough for them. And the only thing that I can gather in my head is that they just trying to keep their jobs. They know they putting out crap, and they expect, at least they thought the women was going to support it, but the women don't want to see it, and so they're gonna try to shame the men, but the men still not going. So they just trying to keep their jobs. They like the power, they like the money, they just trying to keep the job. So that's why they keep pumping this crap out. And who knows what they doing with a lot of this money they claim they spending on these movies, right? You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But obviously the people that's controlling everything right now don't want to lose their positions, don't want to lose that money. So it doesn't matter if Hollywood fall, if people lose their job or whatever, they're going to keep on pumping out this crap because they don't know how to pump out anything else right now. And because they don't want to hire nobody else to actually know about movies.
And in closing, I would like you all to internalize this absolute fact. There are only 3 Mad Max films.
NERDROTIC.com.
Yeah, that was it. All right, I'm just saying, man, I love this guy, man. He does great reviews. And he's honest, and you can tell he's not manipulated. Now, it's always possible, you know, they might try to come to him and say, you know what, we'll give you access, and if you say some good things about our movie. Because usually when people like him or somebody else get popular, then, that's when Hollywood approach, and they think, maybe we can get him to say some good things about our movies, even though they're not. Hopefully, he won't do it. I don't think he will, but hopefully. You got to hope, right? Because I didn't think the other dude was going to do what he did, but he did. I didn't think Grace Jones was going to say Godzilla -1 was a bad movie. It wasn't, but she did, pretty much. So you don't know what's motivating these people these days, right? And it's sad, man. It's got to the point where, honesty now is seen to be toxic. But I'm just grateful for people like him and other people that they're willing to tell the truth. Whether it's a good movie or a bad movie. Okay, I need both sides. I don't need nobody running around being angry at Hollywood or angry at Disney. And even if it's a good movie, they're going to say it's terrible. I think I heard somebody said that X-Men 97 was bad. And I'm like, what's her name? I forgot her name. Boom. Her name is Boom. Go Boom, whatever her name. Beautiful girl, Christian girl too, right? I like her. I like her a lot. But she didn't like X-Men 97. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, okay? And I just disagree with her on this, right? But it's almost, I just get the feeling it's almost because she don't like them because they canceled her a lot of the social media stuff like that. She just ready to say everything's terrible. So I'm not exactly sure what motivates her because it's actually X-Men 97 is good. Most of everybody says so, but maybe it's just not her cup of tea. Who knows, right? But I just need somebody just, if it's good, and then when people were saying Godzilla -1 was good, I trusted it, and I went to go see it, and they were right. And these are the guys that mostly will crap all over a lot of these movies Hollywood be producing. So the fact of the matter is, they turned around and say something was good that was actually good. They can't, because you just lose credibility when you say something that people don't agree with, like, something is objectively good. You know what I mean? Like I said, you like what you like, but in general, you can't deny it. Look, maybe certain things I didn't like about the movie, but all in all, Furiosa was good. It was a good movie. Unfortunately, it got hit because a lot of this, feminist stuff and a lot of this crap that, they done to Hollywood, trying to, etch a sketch men out of it or just make all the men terrible. It just, it's just, like I said, you're not going to win over us older people that like the movies the way it was made, like in the 70s, the 80s, 90s. And all of a sudden you come out with this. I mean, it's a casualty. It's an unfortunate casualty. I probably would enjoy it when I watch it, but I'm going to watch it in the streaming service. I don't believe I'm going to the movie theater. And I don't know what else coming out right now that I actually want to go to the movie theater to see. But either way, I enjoyed NERDROTIC. He's fair. He's fair with his criticism. He's fair. And I believe what he's saying is true. Okay? Until, unless he starts saying stuff that's not true. Okay? That's pretty much it. I'm going to leave his link below. That way you can watch his video without me interrupting it. And yeah, please subscribe to this guy. Please subscribe to me as well, though. Don't forget about me now. But definitely subscribe to this guy. He's great, man. He's a real good. And his podcasts are really great too, as well. Okay? All right. I really appreciate all of you coming by. Thanks again. This is T and peace.